During the awakening ceremony, some students acquired advanced job classes such as Flame Mage and Swift Archer, but our Sigma protagonist, Jiangli, awakened the weakest mage class. This caused everyone at the academy to ridicule him. Nevertheless, a system notification entirely changed his life. Turns out, his system can automatically maximize his skills to their highest level. And that, my friend, concludes the intro, and let's begin.
Two girls adore a guy. One calls him the college genius for his proficiency with spy programs, while the other remarks on his attractiveness and wonders where he'll go to land a high-profile job. The other girl is confident that he will move up to a more prestigious job class, and she intends to tell him how she feels as soon as he reaches that goal. More than a century ago, games invaded the globe and terrorized it. A variety of monsters surfaced, causing individuals to develop new abilities. All humans could do was level up, fight monsters, and switch stations all the time just to survive. Falling behind the beasts meant certain death. Geniuses attracted attention during these desperate times since their skills decided the future of humanity. Jiang Li, a gifted person who traveled between worlds at the age of 18, has been picking up new skills. Driven only by the desire to become the strongest, Jiang Li thrives in all spheres of life, sure that his prowess will reveal a class job that lies hidden. Jobs are divided into 3 categories: basic, advanced, and hidden. Advancement in each category is more difficult, yet obtaining immense power is like trying to discover a needle in a haystack. The college principal, who asserts that he is always correct, has faith in Jiang Li's limitless potential. However, it goes without saying that being a genius often makes people jealous and unsatisfied. A man approaches Jiang Li and affirms that he is the much-anticipated genius. Yan Xiu approaches Jiang Li with his 2 goons, inquiring as to whether or not he is the much-anticipated genius. What advanced job class is Jiang going to awaken? He asks. Jiang Li remembers Yan Xiu as one of the 3 geniuses, having a strong Golden Class practitioner father, after recognizing him from the Golden Domain Academy. Jiang Li answers Yan Xiu's question in a nonchalant manner, acknowledging that he is unsure about when he will awaken. Yan Xiu cuts Jiang Li off, advising him not to become arrogant or he may awaken an unfavorable work class and risk losing respect. Jiang Li defiantly orders Yan Xiu to free him. Yan Xiu swiftly removes his hand from Jiang's shoulder, afraid by Jiang's stare. With his hands in his pockets as he leaves, Jiang muses over being the talk of the day, knowing full well that a botched awakening would be extremely embarrassing. A failed genius runs the risk of living a lifelong joke. Zhang Daniu from Class 1 is the first to awaken and fails as the awakening process starts. The overseer comforts Zhang Daniu, telling those who have experienced average awakenings to hold on to their hope and to keep going. Before calling on the next pupil, the overseer emphasizes everyone's potential. The next awakening is the center of everyone's attention. Li Muan surprises everyone by transforming into a swift archer. Li Muan, who is regarded as a genius from the Golden Domain Academy, draws attention from everyone. After a massive flash of lights, the next person awakens to an advanced work class as well. Yan Xiu, a flame mage of the advanced class currently, shows his displeasure by calling it simply advanced. Viewers are amazed by the successive advanced courses and point out that even more capable applicants haven't shown themselves yet. Yan Xiu, however, sneers at their adoration and calls it all folly, claiming that it's merely an advanced job class. Yan Xiu mockingly berates Jiang Li, saying that talent is something that is innate, and calls Jiang Li's efforts ineffective. Jiang Li's awakening is now underway. When Jiang's turn comes, the instructors recognize his remarkable performance and high marks. With a strange roar of blinding light, Jiang begins to awaken. The extended disturbance upon Jiang's waking astounds the principal. He speculates about the result, asking whether Jiang will succeed in obtaining a unique hidden job class. When the procedure is over, Jiang awakens to find himself in the basic job class of magician. A professor, unable to process the unexpected conclusion from Jiang, disputes it, while another appears obviously concerned. Yan Xiu belittles Jiang's awakening by asserting that he is a better flame mage. Students question Jiang's purported genius and surround Li Muan, praising her as the real deal. Unable to speak, Jiang hears murmurs of dismay and mistrust. Jiang stands in the center of the attention, his results met with shock and amazement by the crowd. Jiang Li wonders if this is the extent of his enlightenment and questions the truth of his circumstances. His attention is drawn to the congrats from the system, which discloses a unique skill set that is automatically optimized. Shocked by the news, He questions whether it has anything to do with his experience traveling across worlds. Looking at his abilities as presented by the system, he finds they aren't originally at their highest potential. Zhongli suddenly notices an odd occurrence as his skill levels rise very quickly. He observes as all of his skills increase in proficiency and wonders what is going on, his mouth hanging open. He thinks back to what his principal mentioned about awakening. Each profession has 3 level 1 skills that can be strengthened by leveling them up, but doing so is quite challenging. He says, smiling slyly, that it was actually rather easy to get the highest degree of proficiency. He claims that the max level benefit is superior to a concealed job class and feels that fate hasn't abandoned him. The principal gives Zhongli a firm shoulder shake, telling him not to give up on his dreams of becoming a higher class member, assuring him of the professor's belief in him, and reminding him of the limitless opportunities that await him as a practitioner. Zhongli expresses gratitude to the principal and promises to keep up his hard work while wearing a determined smile. Zhang returns to class with an artificial smile after receiving a comforting pat from the principal. In the middle of mockery and laughter from others, Zhang comes to terms with the unpleasant reality that people would rather watch a genius fail. Grinning, he muses about his latent ability and muses over the prospect of shocking them all by pulling through. Students hone their aim skills by practicing at the trial shooting range. Yen Su dazzles his friends by shooting fire from his fingers at targets. Yen Su beams with delight as his friends applaud and compliment his extraordinary skills. Yen Su recognizes Zhang as an average wizard and calls out to him as he returns to class. In a competition, Yen Su fires a flame in Zhang's direction in an effort to get his attention. Angry, Zhang looks up at Yen Su and wonders what he wants. Yen Su dares Zhang to demonstrate his abilities and take on an experienced flame mage. Zhang turns down the invitation, claiming to be proficient now and not needing any more training. Yen Su, who is getting irritated, maintains that Zhang is being asked to showcase his skills rather than practice. Yen Su tests Zhang's bravery by asking if he would be able to fight an experienced mage. Yen Su calls Zhang a coward and pokes fun at him. Zhang makes a quick motion with his right hand, shooting big fireballs out of it. Yen Su laughs, dismissing the spell as simple and doubting Zhang's sincerity. The fireballs struck the target, surprising Yen Su with a massive explosion. Yen Su is startled and looks back in shock. The environment is consumed by flames. The fire consumes several targets. Yen Su shouts in shock, stating that this cannot be true. Yen Su yells as Zhang turns to leave, wondering how Zhang, a basic mage, could be able to use such potent fireball spells. As he enters his residence, Zhongli confesses that the full-level fireball was powerful, but it took up half of his mana. He feels compelled to level up quickly to boost his max mana. He returns to the house silently, and a voice asks him why. His mother is the one who advises him to prepare himself for food by washing his hands. Zhang informs his parents at the dinner table that he has awoken and is now a mage. His proud mother exclaims, "That's fantastic," and suggests he put his abilities to use from the more secure position in the back row on his squad. Claiming to have something special to give him, she stands up. She reveals to Zhang that the box belonged to his father, who was a powerful professional in his own right, and that it had sentimental value. Dismayed by this revelation, Zhang demands to know why she failed to inform him that his father passed away prior to his birth. With his father being such a powerful professional, he questions her where he went and why he disregarded them for a long time. He departed quickly since there were essential things to take care of, but his mum claims she doesn't know either. His dad had just said he was going to the edge of the earth. Reminding Zhang that his father had vowed to turn him become a magician, she explains that she had always placed an emphasis on his studies and magical skills, thus he shouldn't hold his father responsible. Even though she's crying, she says it. He's grown up and become a mage. As she looks away from Zhang and wipes away her tears, she informs him that she is exhausted and proposes that he return to his room to sleep before returning to check the package. As he opens it, Zhang gazes at the box. When the package is opened, a dazzling light illuminates the room, and Zhang's face lights up with amazement as he beholds the contents. Inside the box is a professional change scroll that, once you reach gold level or above in mage class career strength, allows you to transition your career to that of a formidable arcanist. Experts in a given field can rise through the ranks of their chosen profession if they fulfill certain requirements. Zhang's dad was a gold-level expert who achieved remarkable success. Lifting the scroll, Zhang considers his father's status, whether in the holy domain or the demigod tiers, and wonders why he was gone for so long. He puts the scroll back in its container, resolute in his goal to level up to gold-level professional status before the trial in Jean City starts in 7 days, stressing the importance of being well-prepared in advance. An ostentatious man expresses his disapproval, saying that yet another naive child, who has only just woken up and has no idea how high the sky is or how thick the earth is hastily making his way to the forest in search of death. The idea that the child may have a very strong vocation is put out by another man. One of them looks arrogant as he accuses the other of being blind. He then tells the other to look at Jiang Li, the child, and says, "Look at him. He's so skinny. What else could he be but a mage?" Someone reaches behind Jiang Li and yells, "Little brother," as they seize his shoulder. A girl approaches Jiang, takes one look at his aura, and asks if he is a newly awakened student. She then invites him to join her group. While one of them says they're too busy to accommodate Jiang due to urgent problems, another nods and suggests that Vivi's generosity could be too much. In her disappointment, Vivi confronts the two men, asking why they act the way they do. In response, Jiang only smiles and claims it's all right. He tells Vivi he'll be all right on his own and waves her off after expressing his gratitude for her generosity. "Wait a second," Vivi begs him. She gives him a potion and says he'll find it handy later on because he's a mage. Jiang receives the potion and expresses his gratitude to the dispenser. With a smile on her face, Vivi tells Jiang to be careful. In the Grey Forest, a big brother goblin of level 4 holds his position, a large club resting on his shoulder. While hiding behind a tree, Jiang keeps an eye on the goblin. A fireball forms above his fingers as he snaps them, and he shoots it at the goblin. The goblin is caught off guard and hits by the fireball, setting off a massive explosion. In an instant, the level 4 goblin is vanquished, and Jiang approaches it, giving thanks to the max-level fireball. Turning around, Jiang feels a presence behind him. When Jiang spots a group of goblins, he approaches one of them and asks if the commotion he made drew them. The goblin in question is perched on a branch, brandishing a shining blade. The goblins make fun of him, but he gets ready to kill them all anyhow, claiming that it's for the best that they've come to him because then he won't have to find them individually. Light armor spell is what he employs. A goblin strike is rendered worthless by the shield that surrounds his body. Despite the goblin's best efforts, a maximum level light armor spell remains impenetrable. Now that the fireball spell is prepared once more, Jiang calls upon it. The goblins are hit by the fireball, which causes a huge explosion. All of the goblins are vanquished simultaneously by the fireball. As the system notifies Jiang of his level increase by 1, he grins and says, "It's like using a sledgehammer to crack a nut." He is encircled by an army of goblins. Regardless of their number, Jiang sarcastically claims, the outcome will remain unchanged. Once again, he snaps his fingers to call upon the flame, but this time, it has no effect, and he is perplexed. Upon reviewing his mana, he is taken aback to see that, despite leveling up, he is limited to casting 2 fireball spells and 1 light armor magic. He decides to meditate to restore his mana after he defeats the goblins, since he notices that the light armor spell's shield is still partially intact. Claiming the goblins will be unable to breach his defense, he takes up one of their clubs and decides to play with them instead. In the face of an onslaught of charging goblins, he brandishes the club and, threatening to demonstrate the might of a melee magician, smashes it into the head of one of the monsters. Looking concerned, Jiang realizes his melee mage damage output is minimal, and the attack only deals -10 damage. He confidently declares that 10 damage points are sufficient and rushes back at the goblins, claiming that they are helpless against him nonetheless. As night sets, Jiang dries his face, appearing exhausted from vanquishing all of the goblins. He remarks on his minimal physical damage and mentions that he has leveled up by 1, while the system notifies him of the news. He comes to the realization that his mana is restricted, therefore he can only cast 2 fireball spells. To compensate, he must employ the light armor spell to protect himself while it cools down, which reduces his effectiveness. A resounding crash jolts Jiang out of his reverie as the darkness falls. Who could have produced such noise, he wonders. A magnificent beast shows up. In Jiang's opinion, the timing is ideal for the entrance of an elite monster, and destroying it early on should yield a great deal of experience. He smiles as he tries to cast the light armor spell while raising his fists. He and the elite monster are both perplexed when the shield doesn't materialize. Groaning in fear, he says, "Oh no," as he faces an oncoming threat with no mana and a level 10 giant axe goblin towering over him. The elite goblin prepares to attack Jiang by raising his axe. A strong strike sends the axe tumbling to the ground as Jiang clings precariously to avoid it, creating a massive crater. Jiang looks concerned and says he'll have problems with the current circumstance. To Jiang's surprise, a level 1 goblin surprises him by charging at him from behind. Jiang suddenly remembers the tiny beasts, who he nearly neglected. According to Jiang, he is out of mana and the monsters are tormenting him as a result. As he calms himself and thinks of 3 solutions to the problem, he realizes that he needs to discover a means to meditate in order to replenish his mana. Jiang realizes he can't concentrate on his meditation at the moment, so he steps aside to avoid the stone thrown at him by the little goblin. He retrieves the potion that the girl had given him earlier, reasoning that consuming it would restore just a third of his mana, leaving him just enough to activate the light armor. Retreating to regroup and fight again later is the third choice. Nevertheless, he prefers not to flee. With the knowledge that restoring mana naturally would take a full day, Jiang decides to take the potion in the hopes that someone will be able to vanquish the elite monster during that time. He takes a sip from the elixir after popping its cork. In preparation for attacking Jiang, the gigantic goblin lifts its axe. At the last possible second, Jiang activates the light armor, forming a barrier that diverts the axe. Jiang decides to take a chance, wondering how much mana he can replenish with maximum meditation level before the shield fails. Prepared to meditate, Jiang gets ready to face the danger. Jiang starts to meditate while seated on the ground, shielded by the light armor. In spite of the elite goblin's repeated assaults, the shield stays intact, allowing Jiang to continue meditating in safety. With yet another hit, the goblin's axe destroys the shield. Jiang says it's enough as he opens his mana-glowing eyes. As he snaps his fingers, he wonders if the goblin is getting tired. As it materializes, a massive blazing ball of fire lands on the goblin. All of the goblins are propelled skyward by the subsequent explosion. While Jiang is on the ground, fatigued, a system notification verifies that he successfully attacked a vulnerable spot, dealing a critical hit. Jiang wipes perspiration off his face as he admits the near miss and extols the might of peak meditation. Feeling elated, he joyfully gains 4 levels after vanquishing the formidable monster. While sorting around the battlefield for treasure, Jiang finds 2 items of black iron gear, a set of lightning-fast gloves and a pair of magnificent leather boots. Jiang considers his fighting prowess and comes to the realization that he must either vanquish enemies quickly or risk death by a single strike. Even though Jiang thinks the beginner's gear is unattractive and unimportant, he decides to hold on to it for the future. Taking stock of his mana capacity, Jiang realizes that assembling monsters for efficient fighting is riskier than grinding them separately. Other cheap, wide-range attack spells would be great, he wishes. The sight of a spellbook fills him with excitement. With gleaming eyes, Jiang discovers that the spellbook's contents are usable even by the most inexperienced classes. Upon opening the spellbook, Jiang is captivated by the crackling of lightning bolts that emanate from its pages. The spell's name is Arc Lightning, and Jiang knows it's an AoE ability. The scalability and control effect are points that Jiang makes with a satisfied grin, and he can't wait to give it a try. Neighboring goblins are oblivious to the danger they pose. Goblins are taken aback as lightning bolts zap them, casting them into confusion. Inconsolable, the goblins survey their surroundings. As Jiang casts the charm, he is astounded that a single shot is insufficient. Another bolt of lightning bursts from his fingers. Another round of electrocution for the goblins. While the fallen goblins show that the damage isn't quite up to par with a fireball, Jiang points out that 4 arc lightnings cost the same as 1 fireball, have shorter cooldowns and casting periods, and eliminate the need to congregate creatures. Now that Jiang knows it's the magic he needs, he can defeat lesser monsters with ease. His enthusiasm knows no bounds as he eagerly sets his sights on the Grey Forest area boss, figuring that if an elite monster can bring him so much, the boss must be much better. Restocking his mana is his primary priority before venturing to the boss region. Jiang spots a group of sleeping goblins, speculating it's the goblin tribe's dwelling, and assumes the area boss must be nearby. He surmises they must be in slumber. Proceeding cautiously, he searches for the boss among the sleeping goblins, planning to attack with fireballs. Accidentally stepping on a twig, it snaps loudly, alarming Jiang as he realizes his mistake. A goblin stirs, rubbing its eyes awake. Acting swiftly, Jiang strikes the goblin on the head with a large stick. Despite the blow, the goblin remains resilient, roaring in pain and anger. The commotion wakes all the other goblins. Jiang flees, pleading with the goblins to cease pursuit, apologizing and explaining his need for full mana to face the boss. In retaliation, one of the goblins hurls a stone at Jiang, striking him on the head. Growing angry at the goblins, Jiang confronts them, readying his spell for battle. He hurls bolts of lightning at the goblins, electrocuting them and reducing their health by half. Another round of lightning spells defeats all the goblins, leaving them defeated as Jiang questions their aggression. Unable to spot the boss among the tribe, Jiang considers if it's not in the tribe. Suddenly, the ground begins to shake, fissures appearing beneath Jiang's feet. Jiang suspects an earthquake is occurring. Startled, Jiang notices a statue resembling an elderly goblin behind him glowing, leaving him bewildered. Meanwhile, 3 individuals walk through the forest, with one expressing concern about practicing in the forest at night, likening it to seeking death. Yan Quan, Yan Xiu's uncle, chuckles, eager to seize the opportunity to defeat Jiang Li and impress his cousin. The blonde companion reminds Yan Quan of the late hour, questioning if Jiang Li might still in the forest. Yan shoots a deadly glare at the blonde, questioning his trust. The blonde quickly clarifies that he doesn't doubt Yan but rather expresses concern about the dangers of being in the wilderness at night, especially in encountering elite monsters or bosses they can't handle. The ground suddenly begins to shake. Recognizing the tremors as a response to someone triggering the area boss, Yan Quan expresses surprise. He informs the others that the area boss, the goblin shaman, has been activated and suggests they let whoever triggered it handle the fight initially, planning to join in later. Jiang Li identifies the area boss of the Greywood Forest, noting its momentum is not as formidable as previous elite monsters. Jiang Li finds himself face-to-face with the area boss, a level 20 goblin shaman. Holding a staff in one hand, the goblin shaman conjures crystal-like objects in the other. Activating his fireball spell, Jiang Li questions if the boss is also a mage. Criticizing the boss's slow casting speed, Jiang Li hurls a fireball at it. The fireball explodes on the boss, yielding a successful hit on a weak point, confirmed by the system as a critical strike. In retaliation, the boss launches ice crystals at Jiang Li, who nervously anticipates the complexity of the battle. Struck by the ice crystals, Jiang Li is shocked by the high damage inflicted upon him. Utilizing its cloak, the boss shields itself from Jiang Li's fireball attack. It looks around, unable to spot Jiang Li. While the boss wasn't paying attention to Jiang, he had successfully managed to hide behind a tree. The boss produces more crystals, knocking down a tree as it shoots them, trying to find Jiang. Jiang Li, hidden behind one of the trees, recognizes the boss's cloak can resist his flame's attacks, thinking it must have magic resistance. With his mana running low, Jiang Li realizes he can't sustain the fight with such depleted resources. He decides to meditate and replenish his mana before the boss spots him. The boss continues to use the crystal to chop down trees in all directions, searching for Jiang Li. After felling numerous trees, the boss turns towards the one behind which Jiang is hiding. Summoning another crystal, it shoots it at Jiang's hiding spot, chopping down the tree. Jiang Li, interrupted from his meditation, opens his eyes and realizes he's been discovered. The boss laughs menacingly as it begins creating more crystals. The boss holds his staff up, numerous crystals ready to attack Jiang, as Jiang says it's bad. Jiang is worried that he won't have enough mana to cast a fireball because his supplies are running low. He claims he's exhausted all other options and instead unleashes a bolt of lightning since he can't summon the fireball. The crystals it created and the boss are both struck by lightning. As it is electrified, the boss yells in exasperation as the crystals break. The boss is so shocked by the lightning strike that he collapses on the ground. Seeing the full-level attack's paralysis effect, Jiang seizes the moment and dashes for the boss. In a flash, he strips the cloak from the boss, explaining that it is useless against his spells. Jiang takes up the boss's cloak and holds it aloft, signaling that he will now take the lead. The boss tries to stand back up, using his crew for help. The boss frantically looks for Jiang Li. As soon as the boss sees what he thinks is Jiang Li attempting to hide behind a downed tree, he launches an assault. Even more crystals are conjured, and he sends them hurtling in the direction of the hidden area. A huge explosion is let off in the area and trees are leveled by the crystals. As he confidently approaches Jiang Li, the boss can't help but smile. When he notices that Jiang Li isn't there, his grin transforms into dread. The boss searches the area in a panic, demanding to know where Jiang Li is. Quickly preparing his fireball spell, Jiang Li announces the boss's defeat as he steps out from behind. The boss swiftly erects a shield from his staff to thwart Jiang Li's fireball. The fireball manages to penetrate the protection and hit the boss. A second explosion breaks out as the system alerts Zhang Li of a critical hit on the vulnerable spot. While the boss lies wounded on the ground, Zhang Li says that his max-level fireball skill is quite powerful, and that the boss would die due to a lack of fire resistance. Carrying a club, Zhang Li approaches the unconscious boss and makes a comment about their tragic meeting. The system confirms that Zhang Li has reached level 10 after ending the boss's rule with a club blow, granting him a 3-level gain. After taking a look at the spoils of the boss's demise, Zhang Li thinks they're good and can put them to good use. Juxtaposed with the cloak, Zhang Li finds that the boss's robe is indeed fireproof, but it's in such bad shape that it's useless. Ice Arrow, which Zhang Li had learnt at level 5, is now at level 10 in the newly acquired spellbook. As he eagerly awaits the repercussions of the max-level Ice Arrow, Zhang Li can't help but be satisfied with its potency. Zhang Li examines the staff and finds that it has magic penetration, suggesting that it might be the reason the max-level light armor was inadequate. He intends to use it to defeat creatures that are resistant to magic. A voice calls out to Zhang Li from behind, directing him to remain still and raise his hands. Two individuals materialize, Yan Quan and the blonde. The blonde implies that Zhang Li's squad must have died because he is the only one left. Yan Quan apologizes to Zhang Li for leaving his squad because he thought they were stronger and admits that he beat the area leader. Zhang Li raises an eyebrow and asks Yan how he knows his name. In his introduction, Yan Quan casts doubt on Zhang's motives towards the Yan family by accusing him of bullying his cousin at school. Zhang Li provides Yan Quan certain gifts as a sign of goodwill and denies bullying. Instead of accepting, Yan says they can't be friends and gives Zhang Li the choice between his hand and leg in a violent threat. Rejecting the idea of violence, Zhang Li says they should not discuss fighting or killing as they had only just met. The man with the spectacles sees Zhang meditating and alerts Yan Quan about Zhang's mana regeneration. They are better, according to Yan Quan, who downplays Zhang's chances of recovery. With a smile on his face, Zhang Li acknowledges their elevated position and compliments it. With a warning that they will not give Zhang Li the opportunity to cast a spell, Yan Quan challenges him to a fight to the death. While keeping his hands up in a surrender position, Zhang Li silently casts his magic, electrocuting all three of them in an instant. Electrocuted, Yan Quan plummets to the floor. Angry at Yan for being overly talkative, Zhang clenches his hands and gives him the opportunity to restore his mana. While in excruciating pain, Yan Quan questions Zhang's lightning-fast spellcasting abilities. An enchanted fireball appears, and Zhang Li confesses he is unsure. The group is left stunned and their clothing scorched as he unleashes the fireball on them. After beating the area boss and piling his bag with their possessions, Zhang Li makes a raucous comment about how profitable robbery is. He gives some thought to moving his leveling position the following day, worried about the 3-level boost he received after vanquishing the area boss. Come back to the 3, and Zhang calls it embarrassing that they couldn't rob a newbie despite being Iron-tier players. Upon reaching Rose Town, Zhang Li experiences panting due to the physical strain of walking. He needs a spatial item to lighten his load. He's exhausted from carrying it all. With the Golden Dragon treasury marked as his target, Zhang Li sets out on foot. A woman approaches him and asks if she may be of any assistance. Zhang lays all of his treasures out on the table and says he has to sell them because he needs to wait. The woman returns with an assessment of Zhang Li's haul and informs him that he would receive 972,000 flame dragon coins, which is equivalent to 1 million, after a short wait. He then sits down at a table nearby. After learning the value, Zhang Li is astounded by the enormous amount, which makes him think about how much of a difference there is between professionals and regular people, especially when compared to his mother's meager monthly salary. Zhang Li asks about basic skill books after expressing satisfaction with the pricing, which prompts the lady to offer her aid. From her balcony, Golden Academy genius girl Mo Qingqing recognizes Zhang Li, who an attendant approaches to tell her that everything is ready. During his visit to the Golden Dragon Treasury Library, Zhang Li informs the saleswoman that he is in need of basic mage class abilities and requests her recommendation. Showing Zhang Li a selection of books, the saleswoman claims they are all beginner-level spells that a wizard can learn. She then asks him to pick out the one he likes the most. Zhang Li notices that the 1 million he received earlier isn't quite enough when he looks at the pricing, which is 600,000 each. He thinks he needs a control skill because of his existing arsenal of Fireball, Arc Lightning, and Ice Arrow, 2 of which are single target attacks and 1 of which is an area of effect. According to him, he'll be using the slow down technique, which slows down his opponent. He uses the rest of his money to buy supplies after realizing he needs to deal with his mana limit. He asks the woman if she sells blue potions or anything similar, and she verifies and asks him to wait. Mo Chingching, the genius girl of the Golden Academy, is having a chat in the reception room with a man wearing spectacles. He tells her that the Gale Plains do in fact have a black iron tier dungeon, but that the entry is questionable, so they will have to keep looking. If the entry is in the Gale Plains, Mo says it's alright with her, and the following day, she promises to personally lead the search while thanking the man who says, "You're welcome." When Mo thinks back on her encounter with Zhongli, she is confused and wonders whether she mistaken him for someone else. She also recalls hearing that something went wrong with his awakening ceremony, turning him into a regular magician. Bo says, "It's nothing," her face flushing with surprise as a butler approaches her and asks what's on her mind. If Bo can make it out of the dungeon alive, her level will soar, the butler assures her. Getting to Black Iron Tier will be a breeze. A week before the trial competition, he promises her that she will undoubtedly outperform Miss Lee of the Lee family, making Bo flush once more. Bo tells the butler to get Moda and everyone else together and not to waste any time since she will lead them into the dungeon personally when the moment is right. In the Gale Plains, Jiang is leveling up by hunting monsters that resemble wolves. He takes it for granted that his ability's damage grows in proportion to his level, so he uses his staff to electrocute the wolves, cutting their health in half. Even with arc lightning, he thinks he can now one-shot goblins when he thinks of fighting them again. A wolf sneaks up on Jiang from behind, catching him unawares. In a flash, he whips up a shield. As he cries out, the onslaught is endless. Further wolves rush him. Swiftly advancing, Jiang casts the spell of arc lightning. Wolves advance on him after evading his lightning strike. The wolves' ability to evade Jiang's arc lightning strike surprises him. The wolves stand motionless as he casts yet another spell. He wonders if it's the maximum level slowness method and makes note of its quick casting speed and direction, saying it's impossible to avoid and usually employed on one target, calling it extravagant to use it 3 times consecutively. He waves his staff in the air and announces that we must eliminate further wolves immediately lest more show up. Just a few moments after that, Jiang Li takes a mana restoration pill. The system indicates that his current level is 11, and he is pleased to see that his monster grinding efficiency has grown. He stocked up at the Golden Dragon Treasury. A level 20 bloodline wolf, the elite monster, peeks out from hiding as he considers charging at it. Preparing for an ambush, Jiang sneaks around a big rock to assess the bloodline wolf and her descendants. A bolt of lightning rips through the sky, jolting the wolves. Armed with a staff and a prepared fireball spell, Jiang charges at the mother wolf. The technology alerts Jiang to a successful strike on a weak spot, leading to a critical hit after the massive explosion. After every wolf has been killed, leaving just the biggest, Jiang announces a combat between them. Preparing to charge at Jiang, the wolf opens its big menacing jaws and lets out a howl. Jiang lifts his fist and casts the slow-down technique on the wolf, telling it to behave. The wolf is stopped in its tracks as it charges towards Jiang, its fangs and keen claws just inches away. Although Jiang isn't sure where the Gale Wolf's vulnerability lies, he does say that the wolf is shaggy, defenseless, and on fire. Jiang casts another fireball spell and observes the wolf's whimpering as it braces itself for the imminent burn. A similar deafening boom echoes as the fireball slams into the wolf, and the system immediately alerts Jiang about a critical strike on an exposed area. The computer shows that Jiang has gained 2 levels, bringing his total to 13, after he vanquishes the wolf. Jiang agrees, noting the modest black iron grade quality but praising their compact size, as the system also describes the loot he obtained, which includes a black iron dagger and a black iron ring. He eagerly anticipates the day when he may sell them for a tidy sum. With no warning, the earth begins to shake, and Jiang finds himself caught off guard, wondering what may be causing it. Something off in the distance catches his eye and makes him wonder about it. His realization that a pack of wolves is barreling at him takes him by surprise. He defeats an elite monster and then gets a mana potion, which implies the wolves shouldn't be aggressive anymore. As Jiang readies himself for what seems like an imminent mauling, the wolves approach. Surprisingly though, the wolves ignore him and run right by him. The wolves weren't after him, Jiang realizes, shocked by his good fortune. Given that wolves are social creatures and that only the Wolf King has the power to call upon a huge pack, he reasons that someone must have set off the area boss. With an iron will, the Wolf King chases after the other wolves and claims the boss for himself. Two men and a lady are ambushed by a larger group as they stand at the mouth of a vast cave. One of the men even has an arrow pointed at them. Trio leader with short hair challenges bigger group, calling their exploitative heroics into question. One of the three cries out in agony as an arrow pierces their flesh. The archer scolds the other two for being unprepared to face the boss after the wounded member falls, claiming that they aren't heroes. The Bloodstripe King and their gear are both claimed by him. In a desperate appeal for freedom, the besieged group's commander offers to give up the Bloodstripe Wolf King and all of their gear. The assailant with the bow breaks the deal and demands that the leader give up the female standing behind him, all while laughing sinisterly. With an evil grin on his face and a lick of his lips, he declares his intention to gratify himself before letting go. The leader then addresses the woman, Vivi, telling her not to hold him responsible and stressing his will to live. Vivi warns him to keep his distance as he aggressively grabs for her. All of the attackers are electrocuted as, out of nowhere, a bolt of lightning appears. The terrified commander of the attackers wants to discover who dared to defy him and ruin their luck. He orders the assailant to come clean by drawing his sword. With a ferocious expression on his face, Jiang confronts them, demanding to know why they would have the gall to steal from them so early in the day, with a fireball at the ready. An intruder suddenly approaches from behind Jiang, sword drawn. Before launching a fireball at the attacker, Jiang quickly spins around to scold him for interrupting. The trio's leader cries out for help and tries to get away in terror. Vivi wonders, is this the same Jiang from before? Her eyes welling up with tears as she recognizes him. The leader of the robbers rallies his remaining allies, acknowledging Jiang's strength in defeating his comrades with a single strike and warning against underestimating him. Baring his teeth, he dismisses Jiang's strength, asserting that ultimately, he is just a mage. Commanding his cohorts to attack together and prevent Jiang from casting spells, he prepares for a coordinated assault. Summoning another fireball, Jiang expresses pity at their reckless eagerness to rush in. With another blast, he questions their apparent eagerness to meet their demise. The robber leader watches in concern as his comrades are scattered in all directions. Enraged, he refuses to accept the devastating impact of a mere mage's abilities. Dropping his weapons and falling to his knees, he begs for forgiveness, claiming it's all a misunderstanding. With a remorseful tone and pleading eyes, he implores Jiang to take Vivi and leave, revealing the location of the Blood Rune Wolf King inside the cave. Jiang commands him to halt, using his staff as a makeshift bow and conjuring a crystal arrow, warning the robber that since he initiated the attack, he should be prepared to face retaliation. Jiang releases the crystal arrow, piercing through the robber's body. He warns of the repercussions from Blood Wolf mercenaries for Jiang's actions, cautioning that there will be consequences. Jiang sifts through his belongings with a smile, noting the enhancement of his mana from leveling up, allowing him to employ multiple skills seamlessly. Vivi redirects her attention to Jiang, expressing gratitude for his rescue. Blushing, she admits to underestimating his power and confesses her earlier concern for him. Rising with a warm smile, Jiang reassures her, stating they are even now as she had also saved his life before. Advancing toward the cave, Jiang invites Vivi to accompany him in facing the boss. Consuming a mana potion to replenish his energy, Jiang strides towards the cave with Vivi by his side, impressed by his defeat of the robbers and his readiness to confront the boss. Observing Jiang's youthful appearance, Vivi wonders if he possesses a hidden, formidable class. The Blood Rune Wolf King, at level 25, slumbers peacefully inside the cave. Peering at the sleeping Wolf King from behind a rock, Vivi reveals her level 20 status and recent attainment of the Iron rank, questioning whether just the two of them can defeat the king. Jiang responds that they won't know until they try, then boldly charges at the Wolf King after launching a fireball. The fireball explodes upon the Wolf King, creating the usual burst. Noticing the absence of a critical hit notification from the system, Jiang ponders if the Wolf King is impervious to fire. Awakening, the Wolf King's visage turns terrifying as he roars angrily, declaring the intruder's demise. Startled by the Wolf King speaking their tongue, Jiang questions the boss's advanced intelligence. The Wolf King charges at Jiang, who deftly dodges aside, realizing the absence of magic resistance. Confident, Jiang casts the slowdown spell. The Wolf King leaps towards Jiang, jaws wide open, ready to bite. Jiang activates the shield spell just in time to protect himself. Jiang marvels as the king nearly shatters his shield, impressed by its remarkable agility despite the slowdown spell. Determined, Jiang summons the crystal arrow, ready to take action. Simultaneously, Vivi enhances Jiang's offensive power with her spell. Releasing the arrow, it's effortlessly dodged by the Wolf King, leaving Vivi shocked. With a smirk, Jiang anticipated the dodge and commands the arrow to launch a second attack. Striking the Wolf King this time, the arrow halves his health, resulting in a critical strike, as informed by the system. Jiang credits learning the technique from bosses like the Wolf King, pinpointing the creature's vulnerability at its waist. The Wolf King grows even angrier, unleashing a howl. Vivi warns Jiang of the Wolf King's berserk state. A swarm of smaller wolves emerges at the Wolf King's side. Jiang recognizes the smaller wolves from earlier. Realizing the Wolf King's ability to summon lesser creatures, Jiang prepares for a tougher fight. Vivi advises caution and offers assistance by slowing down the smaller wolves and replenishing Jiang's mana. Jiang conjures another fireball, slamming it into the ground, annihilating several wolves and gaining experience points simultaneously. Jiang observes that the confined space of the cavern, coupled with summoning numerous minions, has reduced the Wolf King's agility. Calling out to the Wolf King, Jiang warns that if it uses that skill once more, he might spare its life temporarily. The Wolf King bares its teeth and summons more minions. Recognizing the opportune moment to strike, Jiang utilizes the fireball skill for the final time. A massive explosion ensues from his attack, and the system notifies Jiang that he has leveled up to level 14. As Jiang gains a surge of experience points, the Wolf King's minions lie defeated. While her experience points are lower than Jiang's, Vivi yawns and appears exhausted. After gaining one level, Jiang is now at level 15, according to the system. After drawing a crystal arrow and using up another flask of mana potion for another round, Jiang says he would have saved his energy for the wolf boss if he had known about his skills. Bai points the crystal arrow at the Wolf King and asks if that's all it has as the king cowers in fear as his henchmen disappear without a trace. With a sigh, Jiang releases the arrow and admits that they're stuck with the situation. He then unwillingly accepts the last item of value from the Wolf King. With an ominous cry, the Wolf King squawks, "Devil, devil," as an arrow hurtles towards it. The Wolf King whimpers, calling Jiang a devil, as the arrow is stringing it, only inches away. Vivi turns her head back, her expression changing from bewilderment to confusion, as the system announces that she has leveled up, reaching level 21. While Jiang is elated to have leveled up by 3 levels in the cave and is celebrating his success with an abundance of wonderful stuff, Vivi is confused to see that even the search function has leveled up. When Vivi sees that Jiang is leveling up by using the boss's summoning power, she smiles and wonders who the true boss is. As Jiang summons Vivi, she begins to wonder if he is serious about her. Vivi puts her palm over her mouth in horror and claims she did nothing to merit the spoils, as Jiang extends the wand she received after vanquishing the Wolf King and gives it to her, saying it's her portion. Vivi takes the wand from Jiang's hand, and he thanks her for helping him restore his mana and increase his magic damage. He then affirms Vivi's value as a good support. Vivi, beaming with joy at receiving the wand, promises to fulfill her support responsibility and quietly reminds herself how essential she is to him. The effects of 2 spells, Lightness Spell and Swamp Spell, that Jiang obtained from the book the boss dropped are checked by the system. As Jiang examines the spell details, he discovers that the Lightness Spell has the ability to accelerate one's movement speed. This leads him to speculate that the Wolf King's continued mobility despite his slowness spell could be explained by this. Based on the information provided, he determines that he will cast the Swamp Spell when he has the opportunity since it has the ability to ensnare numerous opponents simultaneously. Vivi summons Jiang to come take a look once she notices something. A beautiful little bloom known as the Ghost Orchid. Vivi, who bowed to examine the flower attentively, exclaimed that although it may be priceless to experts, the common people could benefit immensely from selling it because it is a powerful medicinal herb that can cure a variety of maladies. In her flower-picking spree, Vivi gives Jiang one and saves the other for herself. As he holds the flower, Jiang opens out about his mother's battles with long-term illnesses, which she has endured despite her best efforts. A little relief from her suffering, he says, is his wish for the bloom. Vivi points to something and warns Jiang to look closely, adding that the rock is glowing. In response to Vivi's point, Jiang turns to examine the object and finds something stuck within. He then orders Vivi to back away while conjuring a fireball with his palm. With a flash of fire, he shoots the fireball at the wall, causing it to explode. Unexpectedly, Jiang reveals that the thing concealed behind the wall is a dungeon secret realm, and the two of them gaze into the vast, black cave that has just been unveiled. According to the system, the dungeon you found is a level 25 black iron level dungeon secret realm, and it's really challenging. It suggests that you play with a party of 2 to 6 people, and that pros should be at least level 23. With the entrance's position in hand, Vivi expresses her anxiety and suggests they return to prepare, but Jiang, who is eager to explore the dungeon, says he won't wait. He then looks to Vivi and tells her she can run away if she thinks it's too dangerous, but he promises to keep her safe if she decides to come with him. Vivi appears comforted by Jiang's assurances. She vows to do her best and makes plans to trail behind him, promising to buy him time if they encounter danger. On a crisp night, under a bright moon, Jiang and Vivi stroll through a forest. Suddenly, the system summons them to the dungeon's secret realm, specifically to Dark Altar, and tells them to interrupt the ritual performed by the Dark Mage Garubi. Upon hearing the word Dark Mage, Jiang assumes that there is a good chance that he will be able to get magical equipment. Jumping up and down, Jiang yells out, "Here I come," while Vivi jogs behind him, requesting that he hold on. Out of nowhere, Jiang notices something, and he quickly grabs Vivi and tells her to shelter behind a structure. When Vivi looks perplexed, she asks Jiang what occurred suddenly. In response, Jiang urges her to check over there. Standing before them atop a skeleton horse is a skeleton knight, brandishing a lengthy scythe, its current level 20. Concerned, Jiang says that the dungeon isn't easy at all, and that even common creatures are level 20. Unbeknownst to Jiang and Vivi, 3 additional skeleton knights have materialized behind them as they seek for the dungeon's astonishing spoils. A skeleton yells out, "Outsider," as Vivi and Jiang, shocked, turn around. Calling out "Die!" the skeletons rush towards Jiang and Vivi, scythes in hand, demanding to know what they are spying on. Jiang is on high alert and quickly prepares a spell in reaction, taking the skeletons' absence of direct attack as evidence of their weak intelligence. Trying something else, he presses his palm to the floor to cast the swamp spell, which brings forth a bright disc with weird patterns. All of a sudden, what was once solid ground becomes a marsh. The skeleton knights' mounts are startled by the unexpected appearance of water, which causes them to stumble and their riders to be flung off. Wenbai sees a chance. He summons a fireball. At the same time, he burns all of the skeleton knights with the fireball he throws at them. In awe of the enhanced swamp spell's vast range, Jiang and Vivi gaze at the vast marsh where the skeleton knights' bodies have sunk. Realizing he will no longer battle adversaries one by one, but rather several at once, Jiang looks down at the skeletal arms coming from the marsh. A deafening scream reverberates across the air, frightening both Jiang and Vivi. Someone may be fighting the boss, so Vivi wonders where the cry is coming from. Vivi is told to wait by Jiang as he examines the possibility that more invaders have woken up the Dark Mage. In the middle of a skeleton knight horde, the group's armored male leader begs a female companion to use the teleportation scroll immediately. The guy, who looks glum, assures her that her safety is their first priority, but the female objects, saying they can't go until they've beaten every creature. A skeleton knight brandishes his sword and lunges at them, causing the man to panic and yell out, "Oh no!" The man wearing the shield is visibly terrified as the skeleton knight draws near. Jiang steps in between the skeleton knight and the enemy just in time to create a shield and ward off the attack. The girl's reaction upon recognizing Jiang Li is one of shock. The man recognizes Jiang Li and asks whether Jiang had woken up a few days earlier since he remembers that Jiang and his mistress were in the same class. He yells out to Jiang, telling him the creatures there are too powerful for him to handle as a rookie and that they don't have time to fret over him. As Jiang smirked and thanked the man for his compassion, he conjured forth the fireball in his palm. As Jiang yells at the skeleton knights, telling them they shouldn't bother for him, he unleashes a fireball on them. The skeleton knights that were charging at Jiang were destroyed by explosions and fire, giving him a wealth of experience points. With a snap of his fingers, Jiang says, "Done," and the system tells him he's gone up to level 17. As he watches Jiang vanquish the skeletons with a single move, the man appears perplexed. The remarkable achievement of Jiang is recognized by the girl. With an artificial grin on his face, the man instructs Jiang to go because he is in their path and implies that anyone might do what he did. After realizing she wasn't mistaken about him before, the girl goes up to Jiang and asks whether he is indeed who she believes him to be. Inquiring about her familiarity with him, Jiang faces her. With a smile on her face, Jiang remembers her as Qingqing and praises her as a brilliant girl on par with Li Woman. Be careful in the difficult dungeon, he warns, and he wonders if she's there to level up, too. Curling his fingers into a fist, the person clenches his teeth and roars at Jiang, telling him not to be arrogant because they had already weakened the monsters before he killed them. He claims the monsters are elite members of the Black Iron rank. According to Jiang, He will be leaving if they don't have anything further to tell him. He turns to leave, but he can't help but notice that those people are having trouble even with little creatures, making him question whether they can compete with him for the loot from the boss. A little later, Qingqing asks Jiang if he has reached Black Iron rank and implores him to hold on. Until he shrugs and says, "I'm already at level 17, so reaching Black Iron rank shouldn't take long." Jiang says nothing. He then mulls for a while. Qingqing is taken aback by Jiang's rapid progress to level 17 in such a short amount of time and is left wondering how someone did it. Qingqing pulls the pendant from her neck and begs Jiang to help her escape the dungeon. She takes out a bright round pearl-like gem from her pendant and explains it's the Black Iron promotion gem, which she plans to offer him as an incentive for his assistance because she thinks he might benefit from it. The pendant that Qingqing is wearing is obviously rather costly, and Jiang can't help but be surprised by it. He looks at the gem and pendant that Qingqing is clutching with great concentration. With a flushed face, Qingqing asks Jiang to look away from it. According to Bai, there are two ways to get to Black Iron rank. Either you complete the Black Iron trial or you utilize the promotion gem. However, since promotion stones are expensive and rare, it's not a good idea to use them. He anticipates reaching level 20 before the dungeon concludes, and fears that the additional experience will be for naught unless he is promoted to Black Iron rank. Jiang reluctantly agrees to assist Qingqing after some thought. However, he is adamant that she remove her two companions before they suffer the same thing. This causes the gentleman to confront Jiang with anger over his request and warn him against being arrogant. Worried that they would lose their jobs as bodyguards if Qingqing asks the other lady about her and the other guy's plans to have Jiang follow them, the other woman assures her that they will not allow it. Turning to the woman and the guy, Qingqing tells them straight out that being with them is uninteresting and orders them to go. The man shoots Qingqing a disdainful glance before insisting that they must first evaluate Jiang's strength. The man and the woman indicate to Jiang and ask him to demonstrate his abilities, saying they are curious to see his skills. Jiang, who appears to be smiling, senses their challenge and cheerfully summons a fireball. He then orders them to prepare themselves, adamantly stating that he would not hold back. As Jiang smirked and said that his fireball might be slightly bigger, implying that the guy bears with it for a brief period, he stood with his hand raised above him, an enormous fireball sitting on it. Astonished by Jiang's proficiency despite his inexperience as a wizard, the man is rendered speechless as the fireball hurtles towards him. The fact that Jiang can conjure up a fireball of that magnitude as it approaches him startles him. The man resigns, believing this is his last chance, as he is mere inches from being roasted to death by the fire. Jiang suggests they end it there once he defeats the fireball before it can hurt the guy. Jiang makes a fist and says he won't stop the other guy if he wants to continue. Sweat beads to both their foreheads as the man fakes a grin and effusively compliments Jiang's skills, his heart secretly rejoicing that Jiang has opted to pardon the fireball, rescuing them from danger. They both humbly approach Qingqing, expressing their desire to depart and urging her to attend to herself. Upon seeing Jiang's return, Vivi firmly grasps his arm, conveys her patience, and asks to accompany him the next time, confessing her concern. In response, Jiang assures her that he would do his best. Qingqing looks at Vivi and Jiang and asks, "What's going on between them?" It's as if she has never heard Jiang say anything about having a girlfriend. Vivi, who is still clutching Jiang's arm, instructs Qingqing to call her Su Wei when introducing herself when Qingqing asks how to approach her. It appears like Jiang and Vivi are getting close, and Qingqing is quietly worried about it. Suddenly, Qingqing steps in between Vivi and Jiang, causing Vivi to be startled as she asserts that she has something to talk to Jiang about while simultaneously shoving Vivi away and taking hold of his arm. Qingqing presses her hand against Jiang's arm and asks him, "Did you really have trouble awakening?" Jiang confirms, stating that he is just an average wizard, and Qingqing continues to question him. Turning to Qingqing with a smile, Jiang proclaims that having a certain occupation isn't always necessary to be strong. He goes on to say that he has his own ways. Shortly after using the lightness spell to lift himself a few feet above ground in the middle of a massive fireball, Jiang vanquishes multiple monsters and gains enough experience to reach level 18. Standing beside Qingqing, Vivi says that Jiang's actions stun both of them at first. Qingqing then asks if Jiang has always been so careless. Qingqing is perplexed by Jiang's seemingly superhuman abilities, which are likely at the beginner level. A level 27 boss skeleton knight commander and many common skeleton knights ride skeleton horses that have sprouted hooves. As soon as he sees the boss, Jiang gets ready to cast his spells, his excitement evident. Surprising the skeleton knights, Jiang unleashes the swamp spell and boldly declares that the outcome would remain constant regardless of the number of bosses. As the skeleton horses falter in the swamp, Jiang assures them that they pose no threat as long as he exercises his control powers effectively. With a raised scythe, the skeleton boss calls forth a dark horse and sends it galloping towards Jiang. An expression of disbelief crosses Jiang's face as the horse kicks him in the stomach. As the attack sends Jiang flying, Vivi and Qingqing scream in terror. In a terrifying move, the skeleton boss and its minions rush towards Vivi and Qingqing. Assuring that she will divert the attention of the skeletons, Vivi orders Qingqing to rescue Jiang. An ice arrow suddenly appears and hits the skeleton boss. A voice then interrupts, stating that it is unnecessary. Vivi asks Jiang if he's okay, and he's standing there looking furious. Thoughtfully, Jiang considers how lucky he is that his lightness spell hadn't ended. Otherwise, the horse's blow would have inflicted more than a minor wound. His expression betrays his shock as he confesses he was unaware the boss possessed long-range attack techniques. As Vivi approaches from behind, she casts a spell that she claims would heal Jiang. Jiang and the other two are attacked by a swarm of skeletons. With her eyes closed, Qingqing asks the holy light to protect her comrades, make her foes look weak, and make them attack harder. Her aura also seems to be enveloping her. Qingqing tells Jiang that now is the moment to use a group magic assault after a massive burst of holy light pushed back the skeleton knights and the boss. Jiang gestures with his hand as if he comprehends, then conjures lightning bolts. The skeletons are zapped by the lightning. Vivi is astounded by Qingqing's usage of the blessing of holy light, and Jiang expresses amazement that his lightning spell is inflicting more damage. According to Vivi, the blessing of holy light grants its bearer the capacity to deal holy attribute damage, which in turn inflicts weakness and blindness on opponents. Since Qingqing just used it, Jiang's attacks will do several times as much damage. After Jiang recognizes the power of the blessing of holy light spell, Vivi figures out that Qingqing must be a holy priest to cast it. The skeleton boss recovers from its immobility and gets ready for another assault. After Vivi promises to boost Jiang's magical damage, Qingqing agrees to utilize the blessing again, and the two of them cast their spells. As the skeleton boss pounces on them, Jiang warns the two women to be on the lookout. Towering over Jiang, Vivi, and Qingqing, the skeleton boss looms over them, its crimson eyes fixed on them as it lifts its scythe, ready to crush them. As the skeleton commander knight charges at them, Qingqing bestows her heavenly blessing, strengthening Jiang Li's attack. As it halts in its tracks and lets out a pained snarl, the skeleton knight takes a hit from the attack. The forest is illuminated by a massive explosion that envelopes it in a golden glow. Upon realizing that Jiang Li and the others had vanished, the skeletal commander clings to the reins of its steed. From behind, a voice tells the skeleton to cease looting as it looks for Jiang and the others. With an arrow pointed at the skeleton, Jiang Li leaps down from behind, claiming to be right there. The skeleton lets forth a piercing wail as the arrow pierces its chest, inflicting agony. After that, Jiang Li proclaims his victory by jumping down before the skeleton he just vanquished. Bone Spear Spell, a C-grade skill book, and Jiang's level reaching 20 are both announced by the system. Considering his skill slots are already full, Jiang mulls over which one to replace, despite the fact that the C-grade talent is good. He chooses to give it some thought later after realizing that only Black Iron mages can learn the new spell. Qingqing then passes the artifact that increases one's level to Jiang, saying that they will all profit from his might. With a flush on her cheek, she instructs Jiang to refer to her as Qingqing going forward. In gratitude for her gift, Jiang gives Qingqing a high five and accepts it. As Qingqing's flush deepens, Jiang keeps holding her hand and assures her that she would repay her twice over. As a reprimand for abandoning Qingqing in the prison, someone lashes out at her bodyguard with a smack. As Qingqing's two guards stand at the dungeon entrance, an angry expression crosses their face. Worriedly perspiring, the male guard bows and promises that Jiang would protect Qingqing with his power. While the elderly man continues to be furious, the overweight man standing by him, who calls him Uncle Fu, notices that something is wrong and begins to interrogate the guard. In an effort to concentrate, Uncle Fu narrows his eyes and looks up. His mouth drops open in shock as he reads the warning message. The dungeon's difficulty has been escalated to abyss level, meaning there's no way out once you're inside. Telling the obese person to round up all the elites and bring them to him, Uncle Fu yells out that Lady Qingqing is in danger. At the same time, Su Wei senses something and inquires about the presence of others within the dungeon, where Jiang is seated and engaged in meditation. A gigantic limber enters, quaking the earth as it demands to know who is here to bother. The skeleton stranger compliments Jiang and the others on their victory over his minions. The skeleton, a boss at level 30, then takes a good long look at the three of them before announcing their demise. Upon viewing the dungeon boss, Qingqing's expression turns horrified. She stresses the need of being quiet so as not to interrupt Jiang when he is making his breakthrough. Suddenly, additional individuals burst in, and one of them announces their arrival. Uncle Fu and a group of 12 people quickly go to Qingqing to see whether she's okay. Upon seeing him, she appears relieved. Upon noticing the newcomers, the dungeon boss inquires if they are reinforcements. After that, he summons an energy ball from his hands and scolds the bothersome intruders. The visitors are sent flying backward by the intensity of his onslaught. As a joke, one of the new hires asks the boss if that's all he has. The man is startled when, seemingly out of nowhere, a gigantic beast swoops down and lunges at him. Huge and wingless, the creature slouches down and puts its weight on top of that man. Shocking everyone, the lower demon lord bares his fangs and demands to know who summoned him. With an eye towards the sky, the dungeon master proclaims that he has called upon the demon lord and is presenting all those in the room as sacrifices. Even to cover his holes, mankind are unworthy, according to the demon lord, who snarls with his enormous jaws clenched. Just then, a figure appears, challenging the demon lord who will be offered as a sacrifice. Everyone is being rallied to fight back by Jiang, who has awakened from his breakthrough and is now at black iron level. The result is still up in the air, he says with a grin. Looking over to Jiang, Uncle Fu wonders what the lone black iron mage will do. All of a sudden, Jiang unleashes a barrage of assaults resembling sharp drills on the demon lord. Sharp blows puncture the demon lord, who cries out at Jiang and questions his desire for death. Uncle Fu is shocked but still isn't convinced it's enough as he watches the demon lord hurt by Jiang's attacks. Then, in order to save Lady Qingqing, he yells out orders for his students to assault the demon lord. Multiple explosions occur on the demon lord's body as all spells cast at him hit him. At the same time, Uncle Fu tells Jiang to bring Qingqing somewhere safe. With a brilliant aura enveloping his body and glowing eyes, he draws back his blade, saying so. Now that he's involved, the demon lord charges up an assault while yelling at everyone, his jaw hanging open. While yelling, "Death to the people," he unleashes a massive bolt of energy from his lips. With a swung of his enormous sword, Uncle Fu orders his followers to charge in pursuit. He blocks the demon lord's enormous beam of attack. Still clutching his weapon, he uses an excessive amount of stamina and trousers. Gazing up at the demon, he scoffs, his eyes burning with rage. As he charges his sword, he charges headfirst into the demon, using his most powerful method to impede its progress. He proceeds to leap into the air, brandishing his sword, before descending onto the demon. Still with a grin on his face, the demon boss reaches out and grabs the sword with 2 fingers. After that, he painfully wraps his fist around Fu's waist. While still clutching Fu, the demon taunts him, demanding to know whether that is his sole possession. With tremendous force, he throws Fu. Fu smashes into the floor, a sound of agony escaping him. As soon as Qingqing sees this, she attempts to dash towards her uncle, but Jiang intercepts her. Uncle Fu is commanded to flee by the one wearing spectacles as a monstrous figure looms above him. After Fu says he overestimated himself, he gets ready to crush him by raising his enormous feet. An enormous, pointed ice crystal appears out of nowhere. The impact tears a hole in the demon's wing. Uncle Fu seizes the moment and attacks the demon's leg with his sword. The monster trips and falls as Uncle Fu runs away. Who dares to attack the demon? His blazing eyes beg the question. As he prepares to deal with the demon, Jiang brandishes another crystal arrow. He then advises those who have injuries to seek medical attention. Uncle Fu offers to take over the fight when he notices Jiang and Qingqing still there and wonders why Jiang didn't get her to safety. However, Jiang denies the necessity and asserts that he has found a way to harm the demon. Seeing Jiang, a black iron magician, cast 2 spells simultaneously surprises Uncle Fu. He is even more taken aback when he learns that Jiang is combining 2 abilities to launch an unprecedented assault. The demon lord, meanwhile, is furious and has slandered the opposing side. Subsequently, he accuses Jiang of terrible deeds and charges at him at full speed. Dodging the demon's onslaught, Jiang quickly leaps back into the air. Jiang, while in the air, shoots a ray of attack towards the demon's wings. With a smile on his face, Jiang inquires of the demon lord whether his wings are his weak point. If Jiang destroys the demon's wings, his magical source, the demon will be deprived of his magical abilities, according to Jiang. He comes tumbling down, describing how his school fights the abyssal demons, the worst enemy mankind faces. However, the dungeon boss considers the wounds to be minor, pointing to their impressive healing capabilities. He goes on to say that he is impatient and needs to reawaken his abilities, but the demon lord unexpectedly grabs him from behind, shocking him. As Jiang and the others watch in terror, the boss of the dungeon cries out for compassion. The dungeon boss is brought above the demon lord's mouth as his mouth grows. After a single swallow, the demon lord finds himself inside the belly of the dungeon boss. The demon lord then undergoes a physical transformation, developing massive abdominal muscles. As he yells out that Jiang has aroused his wrath, he enters the second stage of his transformation, becoming even more powerful. After that, he curses the others to death and unleashes a barrage of attacks from his mouth. Avoiding the attack, Jiang quickly steps away. He considers using his agility magic to evade the attack while he runs, but then he remembers that his armor spell won't be enough. Surprisingly, the system tells him that his magical strength has multiplied by 200% as a result of the blessing. It appears that Qingqing, Uncle Fu, and the others have bestowed their blessings upon Jiang, enhancing his numbers. When the demon lord sees this, he unleashes his spells on Qingqing and the others. Angry and accusing them of being foolish, he unleashes a dark energy strike from his hands. However, upon seeing this, Jiang changes his mind and asserts that it is bad. The demon curses Qingqing and others to death as he hurls the energy ball at them. Jiang stands in the way of the black energy ball that is about to hit Qingqing. As the energy ball draws near, he uses the light armor technique. The sky is filled with crimson smoke as a tremendous explosion rips through the air. As the demon lord notices the filthy fluids covering the ground, his expression turns worried. He gets up from the floor and looks at the object there. After the smoke clears, a massive shield appears. Jiang orders everyone to remain still, and the paralyzed boss wonders what's going on. Within the shield, Jiang grins and makes an intriguing promise to the boss. He unleashes lightning bolts that electrocute the demon by combining swamp method with arcane art. After being struck by lightning, the demon is rendered motionless. As Qingqing and others increase Jiang's skill power, he rushes towards the paralyzed demon, while the demon lord wonders at his boldness. He accuses Jiang of being dumb and unleashes a black matter beam towards him. In response, Jiang brandishes his staff in the shape of a spear. The demon lord's energy beam is penetrated by the staff. Upon witnessing this, the demon lord vents his frustration, accusing Jiang of engaging in trivial tactics. As the demon lord ducks and covers his face, a shower of jagged bones flies at him, ripping into his arm. When Jiang sees the demon lord covering his head, he inquires as to the significance of the matter. The enraged demon lord, whose arm is pierced by sharp bones, asks Jiang why it matters. The bone spear and fireball skills, when combined, cause the bones to explode in the direction of the demon's face. Suddenly, Jiang unleashes a barrage of sharp crystals on the boss, signaling that the time has come. The new strike causes the demon to cry out in agony. At the same time, Su Wei is wondering whether the fight is over as he watches from the sidelines. The demon lord continues to grin despite the assault, his wrath visible in his burning eyes. As a long pointed arrow that looks like a spear pierces his hand, the demon makes fun of Jiang. For passing up his opportunity to defeat him, he mocks Jiang. The demon looks down at his hurt arm, which isn't getting better, and he yells out what Jiang did. As Jiang confesses to casting a basic delaying magic, he laughs. The hot demon lord tries to put on an air of invincibility, saying that such tactics will have no effect on him. It was more than one arrow, as Jiang discloses. A barrage of arrows suddenly begins to whiz past the demon from all directions. The demon lets out a piercing cry as the arrows strike him. At last, he gives up and passes out just as Jiang marches off, triumphant and level 25. As they all level up, the others rejoice and celebrate the defeat of the demon lord. Uncle Fu decides to keep a cordial connection with Jiang because he sees potential in him and thinks he will become very strong in the future. Even though it's unusual for someone of the black iron level to cast 2 spells simultaneously, Jiang finds himself wondering how he manages to do it. According to Qingqing's bodyguard, she would have been able to defeat the demon lord on her own had she not been hurt. In response to her bodyguard's comments, Qingqing tells Jiang not to listen, and Su Wei thanks Jiang for saving their lives. Their future ambitions are what Jiang wants to know about. Before returning to Jiang, Su Wei plans to practice in lower-level places to increase her strength. Despite her blush, Qingqing says that she would also like to go with Jiang the next time. According to Uncle Fu, Qingqing has extended an invitation to Jiang to spend some time at her mansion. With apprehension, Jiang agrees to the invitation. Uncle Fu claims that Jiang is the rightful owner of all the loot after he vanquished the demon. Jiang upgrades his numbers and puts his fears about ambushes to rest by donning a demon cloak and a new staff. He remarks that he has never seen these before as he picks up an abyss pass and an abyss stone. The gemstone, which Uncle Fu inspects, can be directly upgraded to gold ranks by a professional blacksmith, as Uncle Fu explains. He goes into detail on the many different jobs performed by the professionals at Blue Star, such as the cooks, chemists, and blacksmiths. After Jiang expresses his gratitude to Uncle Fu, Lin suggests that he see the top blacksmith in the Golden City. Before saying goodbye to everyone, Jiang announces his plan to visit the Golden Dragon Treasure Pavilion. Nestled within the Golden Dragon Pavilion of Rosetown, Jiang is informed by the receptionist to be patient. As he surveys the VIP room, he can't help but think about the price tag. The manager enters, and Jiang explains that he is actually here to sell equipment. The manager initiates the settlement process without delay. Taking stock of all he brought, the total value of the black iron level equipment is $25 million. The manager has no idea what the skill book Shadow Stealth is worth, and the same goes for the silver equipment Gale Bow. However, he tells Jiang that they are tradable for other things. Seeing such a massive deal for the first time even shocks the girl. To make things easier, Jiang wants to sell those two things for a mage talent book, so he thanks the manager and wants to make the deal. The manager then instructs him to wait, and they both enthusiastically comply. Nevertheless, his identity remains a mystery to the manager. "Just call me Jiang," is his response. In Jin City, no one has ever woken up after just 2 days to the level of Jian, according to the manager, who is sipping coffee. Astonished, Jiang inquires, "How are you aware?" The management jokes that, with the correct amount of money, the Golden Dragon Pavilion's IQ is spot on. In response, Jian inquires about a bronze-level promotion orb and whether the manager knows of any blacksmiths. The manager mentions that he knows of a master blacksmith. After that, the girl gives Jiang a list of things she wants to trade. Plus, they awarded him a purple golden dragon card with a flat 10% discount on anything because he sold so many stuff this time. Get a head start on your trade with a flat 10% discount on the bronze-level promotion orb. The manager slams the table down out of nowhere. He asserts that, "I will charge you only 16 million for the orb. Consider it making a friend." His realization that he should keep a cordial connection with the management comes after he sees the manager offering him a discount of 4 million. He stands up and expresses his gratitude to the boss, promising to sell everything to him. The manager proceeds to tell him that Master Wang, a blacksmith of gold level, is in Jin City. He advises Jiang to visit the Eastern Wenxiang courtyard and mention that he referred her there. The two then decide to go their separate ways after developing a strong rapport with the management. When he shows up the following day at Wenxiang's courtyard, a guard informs him that the master has ordered no one to enter. So, Jiang reveals his desire for Master Wang Yun to fashion him a weapon by removing a large jewel. As a recommendation from the Golden Dragon Pavilion, he informed the security manager Lin about him. "Kindly inform him." Master Wang then calls out to the guards, "Allow me in," and they comply. Master, perspiring, inquires, "Are you Jiang?" That old fox referring to someone was a surprise to me. Jiang begins to tease him by claiming he is Jin City's top blacksmith. The old guy, though, interrupts and inquires as to the diamond the man wishes to set. Upon witnessing the jewel, which is graded as gold, he is very impressed. According to Master Wang, even gold-level blacksmiths seldom handle gemstones of that quality. Despite his grave expression, he laughs out loud as he says the odds of success are slim with it. You should mentally prepare yourself to fail. Master Wang, though, then suggests a bargain. An incomplete weapon, missing crucial components and the leader's teeth of a thunder crocodile, nearly derailed his progress. The success rate will be significantly increased by this. Therefore, Jiang inquires as to whether he would like him to hunt it down. Master Wang says it's not always the case. He exposes the sly tactics used by the thunder crocodile boss, who evades high-ranking hunters by taking refuge in Thunder Marsh. "I will not insist if you are unable to locate it. "I will do that if it increases the rate of success," they reply. Having said that, he departs and heads towards the Thunder Marsh. As he continues on his journey, Zhongli is approached by a group of intimidating guys, the leader of whom raises his voice to summon him. The bald man poses a menacing threat to Zhongli as he asks whether he has seen a young warrior and describes him. Zhongli immediately identifies the man he erased in the forest when he hears the description. But the bald man stops Zhongli in his tracks as he boldly claims he hasn't seen anyone. Leaning in, the bald man scowls and cautions Zhongli not to hide anything. He demands the whole and honest truth, threatening to smash him if he doesn't. Returning the look, Zhongli states unequivocally that he has not seen anyone. The bald man observes Zhongli's departure and mutters an angry curse word beneath his breath. The bald man snarls, Zhongli is arrogant, and mutters something about how he will teach him a lesson, his anger evident in his eyes. Subsequently, Zhongli overhears two individuals talking about the bald deputy commander of the Blood Wolf mercenaries, Changdong, and the leader's youngest son's recent death. An individual makes the observation that the Blood Wolf mercenary group has maintained control throughout, and foretells that their rule will be finally challenged. Fearing for his friend's safety, the other man warns him not to bring disrepute upon the Blood Wolf mercenary group. When Zhongli overhears this discussion, he begins to wonder if his earlier acts caused any trouble. Surrounded by dense vegetation, the Thundering Marsh is a terrifying marsh where enormous insects, a serpent, and an ominous figure lurk in the murky depths of the water give the place its moniker. Without wasting a second of his time, Zhongli gets to work at the marsh, raising his staff to hurl fireball spells. Zhongli uses the Rain of Fire spell to unleash a barrage of fireballs, destroying the monsters with a single burn. Zhongli realizes his spell is indeed black iron level magic after witnessing its powerful effect. His enthusiasm is palpable as he proclaims the spell's superiority over the arcane bolt spell in terms of its area of effect and efficiency in removing creatures. Zhongli is taken aback as he is startled and quickly turns his head. He begins to question whether someone is tailing him. Assassin lurking behind a bush, perhaps getting ready to ambush Zhongli, is visible to him when he activates his demon eyes. Something enormous bursts forth from the lake, sending water hurling towards him, and the water begins to tremble. Zhongli is met with a terrifying look as a level 29 green vine serpent king emerges from the water, standing a few feet above the lake. Zhongli sighs, observing that it might be challenging to locate, as it is not the thunder crocodile leader he is seeking. The serpent king bares its teeth and opens its enormous jaws as it dives down on Zhongli. The serpent king's assault hits the ground as Zhongli quickly reacts and dodges. The killer, meantime, draws a dagger and waits for Zhongli to make his move. Prior to that, though, telling the assassin to come out of hiding, Zhongli calls him out. Not only does the assassin come clean, but so does a whole gang, all of whom claim to have been on the hunt for Zhongli. The bald man from before is back, this time leading the Blood Wolf mercenary group and accusing Zhongli of the horrible murder of their leader's youngest son. Zhongli, visibly irritated, presses the bald man for proof. The bald man brandishes his weapon and declares, "You will regret messing with me now," if his claim that Zhongli killed their leader's kid is accurate. He went up in the air. While making the sardonic remark, "That's convenient," Zhongli releases ice arrows on the men. From behind, the Serpent King watches over Zhongli, waiting to attack when he's distracted. However, Zhongli swiftly dodges the Serpent King's attacks by directing ice arrows straight at him. In stunned stillness, the bald man and his companions watch as the Serpent King falls to his knees in defeat. They can't believe Zhongli just one-shot an elite monster of level 29, and their jaws drop in disbelief. Presenting himself as a Sigma, Zhongli verifies that he did, in fact, murder him. Zhongli icy-heartedly tells them it's bad for them, much to their horror. He adds that this information must be kept secret forever as he raises his hand to create a massive fireball. With a fireball conjured over his raised hand, Zhongli's eyes light up. In a thunderous explosion, he unleashes a fireball on the bald man and his squad, illuminating everything in its path. The bald man tries to flee the burning building by screaming and running towards the swamp. As he clenches his teeth, the bald man admits to himself that his squad is bound for disaster. The bald man puts out the fire and then falls on his knees before Zhongli, pleading for Zhongli's pity in return for a substantial amount of money. The bald man silently curses, wondering how a young man of Zhongli's stature could be so intimidating. He then chooses to inform his boss of the young master's demise. Jiang Li notices some high-quality gear and inquires as to its origin from the bald man. In response, the bald man states that they have apprehended a few of individuals classified silver. He goes on to say that they killed one hostage who fought back and stole his bronze-ranked clothing, which makes Jiang Li's face become black. The bald man and his party deserve death, Jiang Li states with a chill. Manager Lin asks Jiang Li what services he needs once Jiang Li contacts him from the marsh some time later. Jiang Li nervously assures Manager Lin that the gem setup is doing well, but adds that he needs to contact about another issue. Manager Lin is asked by Jiang Li to investigate the Blood Wolf mercenary group. Manager Lin should move quickly, as Jiang Li has agreed to pay the sum. Blood Wolf Mercenary Group is a name that clearly unsettles Manager Lin. Nevertheless, he consents to conduct an investigation and promptly dispatches an official to do so. Manager Lin dries his forehead and tells Jiang Li not to be too severe, regardless of his problems with the group. In response, Jiang Li says he was simply surprised. As Jiang Li looks down at the lifeless body of a bald man, he recognizes Chen Dong. Manager Lin identifies Chen Dong as the deputy leader of the Snow Wolf Mercenary Group, clarifies his position, and then inquires about Jiang Li's future intentions. After some consideration, Jiang Li announces that the group's strongest member is only reaching bronze level, and that he wishes to take immediate action to safeguard his loved ones. Manager Lin gives Jiang Li high marks for his integrity and devotion before laughing briefly and going into further detail about the Blood Wolf Mercenary Group. Noting that there are 6 pros at the bronze level and everyone else is above black iron, he warns Jiang Li that it will be tough even for him to face so many bronze levels at once. Manager Lin mentions that Li Xiaotian, the group's supervisor, is their strongest member, and Jiang Li concurs that it will be difficult. Manager Lin warns Jiang Li against challenging the boss, saying that he is a level 39 Greystone Knight renowned for his formidable defensive abilities. When Jiang Li asks why the Blood Wolf group is still in the Blackstone Mountains, Manager Lin explains that news of Chen Dong hasn't spread yet, so he has time. Manager Lin reveals to Jiang Li that he was surprised to learn that the Wang family had hired them, as he had initially believed they were there to subjugate a boss. The manager reassures Jiang Li by explaining that the Wang family is spending a fortune paying organizations to discover Earth Dragon eggs and that the Blood Wolf mercenaries and the Wang family simply have a business relationship. Manager Lin tells Jiang Li to come to him first after explaining everything, and he offers to aid Jiang Li if he decides to fight against the Blood Wolf mercenaries. Master Lin and Jiang Li meet in the fusion chamber of the Golden Dragon Pavilion to go over the restricted talent slots that each person possesses. According to Master Lin, the fusion chamber, where one can combine spells to make room in their skill slots, was constructed by the Golden Dragon Pavilion. Along with Master Lin's further instruction that fuses cannot be undone, Jiang Li initiates the fusion process. After reading Jiang Li's spells, the log combines the Fireball and Arc spells into a new one, Lightning Ball. While he is thrilled, Jiang Li is taken aback by how simple it is to acquire new spells in this manner, which allows him to save a lot of skill slots. After expressing his gratitude to Master Lin for his assistance, he explains that he has another issue to address and promises to pay for the spell fusion and the information himself. Master Wang claimed that the Thunder Crocodile leader's teeth might increase the success rate of setting a gold-level gemstone, but the boss is untraceable, according to Jiang Li. Master Lin confesses that he has something planned for Jiang Li and laughs as he says he expected this. A female assistant hands Master Lin a handkerchief with an object inside, which he describes as bait to entice the Thunder Crocodile to come out. Master Lin explains that the equipment Jiang Li just bought will pay for everything, and then some, and Jiang Li gratefully takes the bait. Master Lin wishes Jiang Li prosperity as he confidently accepts the bait and hums in acknowledgement. Jiang Li goes back to Thunder Marsh later that day and drops the bait into the marsh. As tiny bubbles form in the air due to the buildup of electric charges, the bait sinks into the swamp. A tremendous bolt of lightning hits the marsh with a rumble that shakes the very foundations of the ground. Jiang Li shouts out in excitement that the crocodile boss has finally shown up. As it rises from the depths, the 33rd Thunder Crocodile leader looms above Jiang Li with its enormous stature. Level 33's Thunder Crocodile leader looms over Jiang Li, its enormous mouth open and teeth flashing in anticipation of attack. Jumping and using the light body technique, Jiang Li manages to evade the crocodile boss's strike and then lands on top of it. Jiang Li says, with a smirk on his face, that the crocodile boss is very good at picking its battles. "Today," he exclaims, raising his hand, "I have been encountered by you," as he shoots ice arrows at the boss crocodile. The crocodile boss lets out an ear-piercing roar as the ice projectiles hurtle at it. All of a sudden, Zhongli is struck by a tremendous bolt of lightning. The lightning attack even shocks the boss monster, but Zhongli has utilized the light armor technique to summon a barrier and repel it. After that swiftly responding, Zhongli swiftly raises his hand once more, unleashing a barrage of ice arrows at the crocodile boss. He then proclaims that the battle will now come to a close. The crocodile boss takes some damage from the ice projectiles, but its scales protect it from much more harm. Zhongli concedes, while continuing their fight, that the crocodile boss possesses exceptionally thick skin. Upon touching down, Zhongli determines that attacking from the outside won't be effective, so he devises a strategy to strike from within, where it is susceptible. Zhongli conjures a fireball as the crocodile boss widens its jaws wide in preparation to pounce. He then jumps up into the air and hurls the fireball into the crocodile boss's gaping mouth, making fun of it the whole time while saying, "This is a gift for you, boss." As the fireball detonates within the mouth of the crocodile boss, unleashing a tremendous explosion of flames, Zhongli pivots around. This led to, as the crocodile boss thuds down to the ground, the whole area trembles. Zhongli, full of resolve, raises his staff and unleashes the sluggish technique on the crocodile boss. When this technique hits, the crocodile boss loses all of its limbs and becomes immobile. Asking if the crocodile boss wasn't aware that electricity amplifies the explosion of flames, Zhongli raises his staff and makes the comment. Perched on top of the crocodile boss, close to its mouth, Zhongli remarks that the battle was simpler because the crocodile boss freely opened its jaws. With a final yell to the crocodile boss, Zhongli manages to kill it and receives 127 experience points, leveling up his character. Zhongli thinks back on how efficient it was to combine his two techniques. It did double duty by damaging the bone spear technique while simultaneously weakening it. His ability to combine the bone spear and ice arrow techniques is now far greater than when he used them alone. Looking back at the crocodile boss, Zhongli is unsure of what to do next, pull out its teeth or do something else entirely. Hours later, as darkness descends, Zhongli patiently awaits outside Master Wang's blacksmith shop, perched on a chair as he slumbers. As he drifts off to sleep, his head rests on his hand. Just then, Master Wang, who is still perspiring profusely from his exertions, swings open the door and informs Zhongli that it is finished. Master Wang assures Zhongli that the embedding is flawless as he stands up and anxiously inquires about its appearance. Even though Zhongli's material collection should be better, he still managed to create a golden abyss staff and shows it off. This divinely crafted golden abyss staff can cast spells with a penetration level of 450, enhanced with the bonus ability Demon Mark, which immobilizes the enemy and quadruples their damage. As he nervously rubs the back of his head, Zhongli confesses that this was his very first experience working with materials. Holding the staff in his hands, Zhongli is astounded by its penetrating power. Plus, the crew possesses a formidable skill, giving Zhongli the confidence to know that he is now fully equipped. Master Lin unexpectedly calls Zhongli through video chat right now, which takes him by surprise. Zhongli accepts the call by pressing the green button. Across the screen, Master Lin informs Zhongli of some crucial information. The Blood Wolf mercenaries want to raid the Earth Dragon's lair the next day, and he has already communicated the precise coordinates to you. Upon discovering this knowledge, Zhongli proclaims that the Blood Wolf mercenary corps must be abolished. At the outskirts of the Blackstone Mountains, inside the Blood Wolf mercenary camp, an informer reports to the boss about Chen Dong's death. Hearing this, the boss, Li Xiaotian, is stunned and shocked. The deputy leader, Zhang Zhe, tells Li Xiaotian that Chen Dong's last message was that the murderer of Xiao Qing is a young mage. Li Xiaotian angrily remarks that the culprit must think nothing of the Blood Wolf mercenaries for daring to commit such an act. However, Li Xiaotian says that royal matters are more important right now than chasing the culprit. Zhang Zhe tries to argue, but Li Xiaotian shuts him up angrily, stating that the royal matters are more vital and revenge can wait. Li Xiaotian then summons all the mercenaries and instructs them to prepare to move out. All the mercenaries heed Li Xiaotian's command and get ready to follow his orders. Meanwhile, unbeknownst to everyone, Zhongli is hiding behind a nearby tree, spying on the Blood Wolf mercenary camp. His eyes are fixed on Li Xiaotian as he wonders if that's truly the leader. Standing before the mercenaries, Li Xiaotian says that after all their hard work, they've finally located the Earth Dragon's lair and declares it's the best time to attack. He also informs them about the death of Chen Dong at the hands of their enemy and vows that once he advances to silver rank, he'll make the enemy pay. Clenching his fist, Li Xiaotian swears to make their enemies regret ever messing with the Blood Wolf mercenaries and promises to never abandon his brothers. The mercenaries, thrilled by Li Xiaotian's speech, cheer and shout praises for their leader. Still hidden, Jiang Li decides to follow them and strike by surprise when the time is right. Later, Li Xiaotian and his men come face to face with the dragon and find it truly intimidating. Raising his weapon, Li Xiaotian orders the brothers to charge forward. As the men rush towards the dragon, it prepares to defend itself against the intruders. Swinging its clawed paws, the dragon slams into the men, sending them flying backward with tremendous force. The mages among the group begin casting fireball spells at the dragon. An assassin charges forward and climbs onto the dragon's scaly tail. Using his dagger, the assassin strikes at the dragon's tough skin multiple times. However, the dagger breaks instead of piercing the dragon's scales. Noticing the assassin, the dragon swings its tail, hurling him away. As a rune formation appears under the dragon, the cave begins to collapse, and large boulders fall from the ceiling. The massive boulders crash down upon the men, crushing many of them. Seeing this, Li Xiaotian raises his shield to create a protective barrier. He commands the men to get behind him as he deflects the falling boulders with the barrier. Li Xiaotian announces that he will charge in and instructs the others to wait for his signal. Using the giant charge skill, Li Xiaotian charges toward the dragon, shield raised and his axe in hand. Once close, he slams his shield into the dragon. The force of his attack causes the dragon to fall onto its back. The men, impressed by his strength, cheer and praise Li Xiaotian for taking down the dragon on his own. In an impatient tone, Li Xiaotian scolds the men for standing idle and orders them to aim for the dragon's eyes. Following his orders, the men target the dragon's eyes. Archers shoot arrows and mages cast spells, all aimed at the dragon's eyes. The attacks strike the dragon's eyes, injuring it. The dragon raises one of its front paws and brings it down on Li Xiaotian, trying to crush him. Reacting quickly, Li Xiaotian raises his shield to block the dragon's paw from smashing him. Gritting his teeth, Li Xiaotian struggles to hold the dragon's paw back and yells at his men not to stop attacking. However, his eyes widen in horror as he hears his men screaming, claiming they're being attacked by an enemy. Jiang Li, who used a fire skill to burn all the mercenaries, reveals himself and declares that even though the Blood Wolf mercenaries are well trained, they will all perish now. Smirking, Jiang Li says this with confidence. No one will get it out of the cave alive, claims Jiang Li. In an instant, an energized arrow hurtles towards Jiang Li, but he conjures a shield in time to stop it. Jiang Li's audacity in attacking the Blood Wolf mercenary group is questioned by Zhang Zhe, who stands beside the archer who pulled the trigger. Zhang Zhe orders Li Xiaotian to deal with the Earth Dragon while they take care of the child, and then charges towards Jiang Li. In an effort to avoid being crushed, Li Xiaotian uses all his strength to shove the dragon's paw away. After much struggle, he manages to subdue the dragon, sending it tumbling to the ground. According to Li Xiaotian, who is utilizing a bloodlust skill, the dragon is pressuring him to take things seriously. He gets to his feet and swoops down, raising his axe as he yells at the dragon to perish. And then, with all his might, he smashes the dragon's neck with his axe. Li Xiaotian mocks the dragon's frailty while smiling, sure that he has slain it. However, his men's cries cause him to panic, and he quickly turns around. The archer appears vanquished by Jiang Li's icy shots, leaving Zhang Zhe in a state of shock as he wonders how Jiang Li possesses such incredible strength. Jiang Li says it's useless to say anything more while summoning additional ice arrows in response to Zhang Zhe's question about Jiang Li's identity. As he fires the ice arrows, Jiang Li proclaims himself the one who will put an end to the Blood Wolf mercenary group. At that very second, Li Xiaotian rushes forward, shield in hand, to rescue Zhang Zhe from the incoming arrows. But Li Xiaotian is taken aback when the ice arrows, which are incredibly powerful, manage to cut through his protection. Li Xiaotian deserves commendation from Jiang Li for being a true warrior and for his formidable defenses. Upon realizing that Jiang Li is powerful and knows him, Li Xiaotian assumes that Jiang Li is responsible for the deaths of his son and Chendong. After Jiang Li approached him, he said it's time to make amends. With a raised hand, Jiang Li accepts the challenge and prepares to use a skill. Li Xiaotian and Zhang Zhe are taken aback when, out of nowhere, the earth under them becomes a swamp. Jiang Li claims it's not finished and calls forth a massive electric sphere. Li Xiaotian is taken aback by Jiang Li's simultaneous casting of two spells, but Zhang Zhe cautions him to exercise caution. In response to Jiang Li's method, Li Xiaotian calls it a fancy trick and declares that he will block the strike. However, lightning strikes the marsh water below just as he is about to take action. A painful electrocution from the electrically charged water makes them both scream in agony. Realizing he has exhausted his power on the dragon, Li Xiaotian finds it difficult to move and decides he must take extreme action. Leaning forward, Li Xiaotian shouts, "Absolute defense." Emerging from the earth, massive boulders encircle Li Xiaotian, providing him with a secure hiding place. Li Xiaotian will wait for Jiang Li to run out of mana and gather his power before launching an assault, now that he is safely behind the stone barrier. After observing Li Xiaotian's concealment method, Jiang Li made fun of him, comparing him to a turtle that is slowly shrinking. Jiang Li summons a huge ice arrow and declares that this is the perfect moment to use this ability. Next, he targets the stone barrier with the ice arrow. The icy arrow breaks the stone barrier in two. Master Lin says that news of the Blood Wolf mercenary group's demise has spread and that Jiang Li will now be famous. A few days later in Rose Town, within his pavilion, he elaborates by saying that no one knows who Jiang Li is just yet, and that everyone is relieved that the Blood Wolf mercenary group was vanquished because they were wicked. According to what Jiang Li read in the press, the moniker is Black Mage. Jiang Li sighs and prays that this incident doesn't escalate the situation. Just then, the room's door swings open. As Mo Qingqing and Vivi make their way into the room, Mo Qingqing enthusiastically approaches Jiang Li and asks if they can practice together for the professional trial competition. As Mo Qingqing holds Jiang Li's other arm, Vivi asks, her voice tinged with jealousy, when Jiang Li first met Mo Qingqing. Concerned, Jiang Li believes this problem cannot be avoided at this point.